Hey squad, before we get into today's episode, I want to give a quick shout out to the RMR Training app. Yes. So the RMR Training app has our brand new 12-week training program. This is our flagship program that we point a lot of our athletes who come into the RMR Training app toward. It's going to be progressive. It's one of our peak and perform plans that will have a progression and will lead you in to your next Hyrox event. Each year, we take what we've learned in the past, we keep what did work, and we get rid of the things that we think didn't work, or we iterate on it so that it works better. And this year, we're really excited because it's in our brand new platform for the app that also includes the RMR community. The community has a robust number of athletes already in there who are training specifically for Hyrox. So there's a ton of support. All the coaches here at RMR Training are in there answering questions, making sure that people know exactly what they need to do to improve their Hyrox. You can get all of this, the brand new program, for 12 weeks, and we have nearly a dozen other programs, all for one price. It's just $39.95 a month. We're real excited about this new 12-week program, as now we have things like it's a better user experience being in on the community. We have long-form video guidance within the actual app itself. We have native Hyrox leaderboards that we've built from scratch. Most of the leaderboards now don't really cross over very well for Hyrox. This one we built so it makes perfect sense for Hyrox, and a lot more cool features in the 12-week program and the app. You can check it out with the link down in the show notes. Let's get to the episode.
Welcome to the RMR Training Podcast. It's your boy RK, joined by MJ, and today we're going to be breaking down why cross-training is so valuable, how it ties into Hyrox, and the smartest ways to work it into your training. But first, I feel like we always got to do at least a little catch-up. We were talking off-air before we went live, just about how life be crazy. Like, there's not enough hours in the day right now. When you're a full-time athlete, a parent, just doing all the things, and it's not just an athlete, it's anyone who's got a full-time job trying to balance all the things, train for Hyrox. It feels like days I'm just waking up 6 a.m, and then before I know it, it's 10 o'clock at night and it's time to go to bed again, and then just repeat the whole process all over again. And I'm just like, how did my life get this way? I used to have free time. I used to be able to just lay on the couch, watch TV, relax. Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not
Do
anymore.
you feel like this is because you have 2 kids now instead of just the one, or just
I think
other life stuff?
I think it's a combination of all that. I mean,
Yeah.
Basin is in school right now from 8 to 2:30, which is great because I can do work while he's at school and not feel guilty about it, because typically, we work from home. We can work from home. And sometimes it's like mixed messages between like, all right, daddy's home, but he's on his phone or he's on the computer. And that, really means I'm unavailable for playing or whatever. And it's just hard for him to understand that. And it makes me feel bad as a parent. So the fact that he's like at school now is kind of nice because I don't feel as bad about doing the work. But then I do have a 5-month-old little girl at home, and it's a lot on Sarah to always be taking care of the baby, and I try to step in when I can. But yeah, like trying to fit in the training around all of this, the recovery needed. It's just hard. It's hard work. I'm not looking for sympathy. It's a grind.
Yeah,
Like, life is a grind.
definitely.
And it feels that way right now between all the things.
I feel like when I started this, Mila was a little bit younger, so she's 10 now. Maybe she was like 7, 6, 7, 6 or 7. I don't know what year we are. When I started like Hyrox and like kind of doing this whole thing. And as your kids get older, they also get way more involved in activities of their own. So like that's always and then even now it's summer. Mila hasn't gone back to school yet because we go back really late in New York. And so just juggling like summertime, she's older. She wants to see her friends. She's like developing her own life, like outside of
Hmm.
me and like doesn't, you
How's
know,
that make you feel?
I
Because
love
I
it,
can, you
but
do?
it's like
Okay.
sad at the same time.
Okay.
There's pros
'Cause
and cons. There's pros and cons.
Basin is becoming way more independent right now with him starting school
Yeah.
and like literally driving up to the school, opening the door, and he's walking to his class like by himself. And it's like, where, how did we get here?
Wow.
Like, how
That's
are you doing
crazy.
this? You don't need us? You don't need us to walk you to your classroom? Because we
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
Yeah. So I think that's where it starts to get a little more difficult at times. Like there's hard parts about each thing. Now it's like we have to work together a lot more to be like, okay, I have to do this, but she has dance at this time. You know what I mean? And it's like, or hey, I have to do this and get my work done, but then at 2 we can go do this with one of your friends or whatever. So it's definitely like I think just with her being into her own stuff, like she's really, really, really into dance and it's competitive dance. And like her year this year is 3 nights a week. One night is 5 hours, the other two
Oh
are
my God.
3 hours. Yeah, like it's serious.
That's commitment.
And she wants to do tumbling to help support the dance. So that would be another night. So it's like juggling that stuff and then with your own training. Cause I think it's glamorized a little bit. Like I feel busier now than when I worked full time in an office. Like there are days, not every day, but there are days where I feel like way busier. Like I have way more to do than when I would like go to an office. And maybe it's because I can like separate myself when I'm like at a place of work comparatively
Hmm.
to like working independently. But I think in the coaching world, the a big deception or deceiving thing is like we don't really get time off. So like it's like you and me with our jobs, like I could leave work and like work was over. I'm not answering
Right.
emails, I'm not answering text messages, I'm not talking about work now. So like when I leave work, it's done. Now it's like we are kind of always working. Like I'm in the middle of a track session and I'm like didn't have my phone on D&D and I'm seeing my clients texting me while I'm doing
Hmm.
my session and I'm like, "Oh
Hmm.
my God, okay. Got to go like turn that off because I don't want
Right.
I need my splits and this shit's popping up." But it doesn't really end. You know what I mean? There's no like cutoff time or end time. So I think sometimes that's a
That's a
new
good point.
challenge in a different way, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I actually, I know and Sarah would say the same. I need to do a better job about that. Like saying, okay, at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night, like that's it. Like
Yeah.
no more messaging. If
Yeah.
a
Like
client
I'll have
reaches
to
out to
answer this
you, hey,
tomorrow.
yeah, deal with it tomorrow. I mean, even last night, there's questions coming in on, the RMR training app. And I think I went to bed pretty late last night and it's close to 11 and I'm sitting there answering
Yeah.
messages. And I'm like, it's kind of nice because it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about this in the morning. It's one less thing I have to do tomorrow, but still it's like it's turning your brain on. And
Yeah.
it's like right now I need to be relaxing and trying to get to sleep. So yeah,
Yeah.
finding
It's
ways to
like
make it
it's like the luxury though is that we can do it from anywhere. So that's a
definitely.
huge luxury. Because we can be traveling. Like I get a ton when I travel, I like specifically plan my travel days. That's like a huge day. I'll get a ton of work done. Like I'll get programs done multiple weeks out, or I'll build them out in my head, or like how I'm gonna lay them out. And because I'm on a flight for like 8 hours, right? So like I can literally do it in the sky. But so there's always pros and cons, I think. And I think but I think people just see us sometimes and they're just like, they just work out all day and recover and that's it, and it's
Right.
it's definitely not it.
How
And we're
good are you
always
about
thinking
plant?
about training.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Like if we're
And
not
then that
talking
gets
about
me
training, we're not talking with clients about training, we're not programming training, we are training or we're thinking about training or
it,
we're eating for training or we're
it's funny.
recovering from training. Everything is training.
It's funny you say that because my college coach, his his mentor, would visit us on occasion, and his whole like mantra or motto was, if I'm not training, or he goes, I'm either training or I'm thinking about training.
Training. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm either training or I'm thinking about training. That's what my day consists of. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, kind of. And then it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you get these ideas for clients too. And you go make notes for that. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I will say I am getting better about structuring my day as a coach and like planning my week out and looking at all the things that I need to get done this week and assigning it to a day of the week. And
Yep.
sometimes I'll go even further and be like, okay, this needs to be done at this time on this day. And it helps me just kind of have a checklist and slowly eliminate things off the list.
Yep.
Whereas, like, you have these things you got to get done. You don't know when they're going to get done, but you'll probably get them done. And for me, that
Yeah.
doesn't work well. Like, I need to actually assign like a specific day to like
Yeah.
do this, or it just won't happen at all. Because I'm an alarm setter. I set alarms for everything. I make notes for everything because if I don't, I just forget and doesn't
Yeah.
get done. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty terrible about that.
I think my toxic trait is like this is a good thing as an athlete because I usually do very well when the pressure is very high, but that's also like in every other thing in life too. So like when the pressure is on to like get the work done, I will crush it. But sometimes I'm not as proactive, you know what I mean, as I could be.
Yeah,
I could be more
yeah,
proactive. So I gotta work on that. That's a personal skill I need to develop. Like I said, it works very well in it's a great thing for sports, but maybe not for business. It drives Benny a little
yeah,
bit nuts. But yeah, and then that was my other point is whenever I'm away from Benny and we, are calling because we're apart, like all we talk about is training and like how my training's
yeah.
going. He's like, "How was the session today?" That's like all we talk about. So it's
That's
pretty
hilarious.
funny. But yeah. So
Good
now
stuff.
into our real topic.
Yeah.
It's
How
about
long? What was that?
training, guys.
Yeah. A nice little 10-15 minute intro. Um, Yeah, we're going to talk about cross training today as it pertains to Hyrox. And I know you have been doing a ton of machine work and cross training as you've been coming back from your injuries. I've dealt with injuries in the past and had to resort to cross training. Uh, and to be honest, I've come out of injuries fitter than I was going like when the injury happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's like the new stimulus or what it is, but more times than not, I've actually come off of injuries fitter than I was before it happened. And even today, I would consider incline walking to be a cross training tool.
Yep.
So like today, I went to the gym, and the only piece of equipment that I do not have in my garage is a motorized treadmill that goes up an incline. I've got
Mm-hmm.
the curved treadmill, but I don't have a motorized one. And so a couple times a week, I go into the gym for this, and usually it's on days where I like I had a long run yesterday and I woke up
Mm-hmm.
today and I was like, I don't really like running just doesn't feel like I just don't feel like running. But I
Yeah.
could probably run at like an incline or something like that, but I don't feel
Yep.
like taking the pounding on
Yep.
on the flat terrain and things like that. So I went in, I did 45 minutes. I did 5 minutes walking at 20%, 5 minutes walking at 15%, and then 5 minutes slow jog at a 10% incline. And I did 3 rounds of that. So 5 minutes at 20%, 5 minutes at 15%, 5 minutes at 10%, and then just cycled through that for 3 rounds. And I honestly came out of that session this morning feeling rejuvenated and like
Mm-hmm.
my body um, was just like a little more alert and awake. Whereas if I would have taken that to the pavement, uh, or wherever the trails or something, taken more damage, it probably would have set me back even further. But now I feel kind of fresh and
Yeah.
this evening I'll go out and do more. I'll do some machines this evening, but I'm getting in. I'm still hitting the heart rate response, but
Yep.
I'm not taking that necessary damage. So
And that's really the key with it is like is creating the correct heart rate through the cross training. So like making sure you're working in the right intensity, that's how you can keep or you can even build aerobic fitness through cross training. And that was one thing that I actually, it's funny because you always develop skills like out when you're injured because you have to do other stuff. So cycling has
Yeah, it
become
forces you to think outside the box.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm fortunate I have a Concept 2 bike. I have one in Cyprus. It was just the most accessible cross training kind of tool that I have. But my aerobic base when we then did my testing after the last like 6, 7 months when I was cleared to start training to like July when I did my lactate testing, my aerobic base was stronger probably than it's like ever been, maybe, or the same as like when I was in my most peak pure running fitness a few years ago before I started doing Hyrox. And like my LT1 went up to 83% of my max heart rate, which was like pretty crazy to see that. And
Tell everyone what your LT1 is real quick. Just
so this is like this is actually your true zone 2. So this is where your lactate does not exceed 2 millimole per liter, which is considered easy, low intensity. And the better your aerobic base is, the higher heart rate you can sustain with keeping the lactate very, very low and very efficiently using it. So that was like, we were kind of shocked because I wasn't really able to run for a little while before we had done this test. I had to stop that whole month of May, completely pause before Worlds. So I was just cycling. I was on the ergs a lot. I would do the Stairmaster, another awesome tool that I love because I think also it's just building a lot of leg strength.
mm-hmm.
And I would use the arc trainer.
Yo, let's go.
The arc
I love
trainer.
the arc trainer.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if everybody knows what that is. Go look it up. Most commercial gyms have them.
At
Um,
least like one or two. They're
yeah,
like off in the corner,
yeah.
if not by the
But
other equipment.
that mimics running better than any other cross training tool. It's the exact same motion. You can adjust, the resistance on it.
Resistance.
You can go higher RPMs, lower RPMs. It's a great tool. And we've seen a lot of elite athletes when they've gotten injured using the arc trainer to keep fitness. So
Parker Valby is one of them.
yeah, yep,
That she went to Florida State. I think she's now a professional runner. No, wait, she's not Florida State. She went to Florida. Yeah, she's widely recognized for using the arc trainer like several
yep.
times per week.
She was doing at one point only hard sessions of running, and all her low intensity sessions were on the arc trainer. So
That's
she was running
crazy.
like 2 times per week and then like won an NCAA championship. So like
Yeah.
clearly it can work.
Yeah. And I think that's the big misconception with cross training is that people think they're going to lose fitness if
Yeah.
they can't run. And it couldn't be, and it couldn't be further from the truth, but I understand why people would think that because I
Yeah.
once thought that until I was forced to pivot and cross train and then came out of it extremely fit. It made me kind of rethink kind of how I looked at cross training as a whole. And I guess before we get into it a little bit more, let's list off like a few things that you would consider to be cross training tools. So obviously there's the rower and the ski erg, which I don't know if you could technically say is cross training because it's race specific. It's in
Yeah.
the actual race. So, you know, the more time you spend on that is actually better because it's part of the race. It's part of what we do. But there's also things like the assault bike or the echo bike, the Concept 2 bike, which you really like,
Yep.
spin bikes, incline walking, which I really love, the arc trainer, the elliptical, what else is there?
Swimming,
Swimming.
which
Any
I didn't do
other?
any of, and I kind of wish I did. I'm
I've
just not
gone.
a swimmer.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either.
Um, we used to have to do a five when I was an ocean lifeguard years ago. We used to have to do a 500-meter swim test, before every season, and we had to do it, I think, under 8 minutes to be able to work that summer as an ocean lifeguard. And I thankfully I was so physically fit from running and stuff that I was able to kind of my cardiovascular system was just strong enough to where I could muscle my way through it, for a lack of better terms. But like I would do no swimming at all leading up to that. I'm like, please Lord, let my run fitness translate
Thank,
because I don't feel like getting in the pool.
thank God the people that you saved didn't know that you never swam. That would probably
Well,
not make them
I
feel
know.
very secure.
I know. A lot of the I did have a few rescues though, but a lot of them were closer to shore than you would
Yeah,
think. And I didn't
yeah.
wasn't swimming out like 200 meters out from shore. But I've cross trained with swimming, I think off the top of my head, like whoa, maybe one time. And
We used to have
it
to aqua jog. Have you ever done aqua
I've
jogging?
done a little bit of that.
No, that
Yeah,
is hard. We used to not be able to wear, our coach wouldn't let us wear like the belt. So you had to like frickin' work or you were not floating. So like I remember it was very, very hard, but very effective, of course. So these are definitely some good tools that you can use. I think the one caveat, depending on what tool you are using for your cross training or if you're going through an injury, and this was something that I kind of had to get used to too, was it's not one to running, so the duration also isn't. So I think we would spend a little bit longer time on a cross training machine than we would like on an easy low intensity run, if that makes sense. So if I was running for 60, I would probably cycle for 90, if that made sense.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think, from a physical standpoint, obviously it keeps your body a little more fresh. You're able to train a little bit more volume than you would if you were running
Hmm.
significantly, to your point. But even from a mental standpoint, I think adding in that variety just keeps training a little fresh, a little more fresh and fun than kind of waking up and doing the same thing every single day.
Definitely.
I look forward to kind of switching up the stimulus, uh, you know, either every day or every other day or, a few times per week. I look forward to that. To be quite honest with you, when I got out of world championships this past year, did Elite 15 doubles with Rylan. That next week, I took a down week and then I immediately got right back into training. And
Hmm.
I think I had 8 weeks of 50 plus mile weeks after
Hmm.
that. And that was great. It was great. But I got like 8 weeks in and I was like, where do I go from here? Like
Right.
I can't really I could add more run volume, but like I feel like I'm sort of at my limit in terms of what I can handle. Um, like with all the other things that we have to train for,
Yep.
it just kind of caught up to me. Like the first month, maybe 6 weeks, I was like, this is fine. But then after 2 months of it, like this is kind of a lot, and my body's starting to not handle it as well. So I
Hmm.
completely reduced my run volume significantly. I went from running 50 plus miles per week for 2 straight months to I've been averaging in like the mid 30s now, and then supplementing that extra volume with just more time cross training. And the the effect that it has had on me from both a physical and mental standpoint has been exponential. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm recovering better
Hmm.
between sessions. I'm not feeling like I'm burnt out on training at all. Um, and yeah, it's just one of those things where I noticed I was like, things just don't feel right. I need to dial back and probably do a little more machine work. And now, honestly, my workouts are popping again.
I was
Like,
going to ask that because I had a feeling that, and this is something I've actually noticed this week because I hit my peak last week and both of my harder effort sessions, like I completely nailed it from like the pace and the intensity, but I didn't love how I felt during it. Does that make sense? Like
mhm.
it felt like I was having to push a little harder than I wanted to feel like I was having to. So more even from like a muscular sense. Like I was like, okay, I'm fighting through this a little more than I thought I would. And I kind of realized I had kind of made that assessment. I hit 62 miles last week, so I'm probably
That's,
just like, need to
yeah, right.
drop it down. So Wednesday, I did a full I was supposed to run 60 easy, and I said to myself, I had another hard session Friday, and I said, you know what? This is a great cross training day. So I'm not going to do the 60 easy run. I'm going to do 90 minutes on the bike. And then I did the arc trainer for 60 instead of, because I usually do a 60-minute on my easy runs. I do like some bike and some, I do an easy run and I do some cycling on my low intensity days. So I just swapped it out. Felt way better on my session today. So I was like, okay, that was a good move.
Yeah.
Because it's tough. Like, 60 miles probably 5 years ago would have been nothing. I was running 5, 6 years ago, 70 to 72 regularly. But we were only running. I was only running. I wasn't lifting. I would lift like legs once a week just to keep things strong, but it wasn't like
Right.
crazy. Now we're doing so much other stuff and other work. I mean, even the rower and the skier, like you were saying, as cross training, there's a huge muscular component still from those, especially if we're hitting threshold or harder intensities on those too. So finding the balance, and other elites have said the same thing. Like I know Tim did an interview after Worlds, and they were saying like, what did you change this year? And he's like, I dropped my running volume. And I think that's really important. And I think the cross training is great for us because we do a lot of volume, but it's also great for people who can't do a lot of running volume, like beginners. This is a really great tool where you can, if you're running 3 days a week or maybe 4 days a week, you can supplement with some low intensity on an arc trainer or more cycling or whatever. And that's going to still help you build your aerobic base without having to try to overdo the running so much, because it is impactful and it's not necessarily just it's the joints, it's the passive structures,
Yes.
it's your
Yep.
bones. Your bones take longer to adapt to running volume than anything else, actually. So that's where you got to like really play it smart. And I think the cross training is a super important skill, especially if you are someone also who wants to train 6 days a week. Throw
That's
the
the,
cross training in
yes,
there.
yes. Because, you know, if someone were to come to me and say, how can I improve my Hyrox time like the most? What can I do? And I would tell that person consistency.
Yep.
It's not one hard workout that I can give you. It's not, you know, some sort of secret. Like the secret is putting in the work
Yep.
day after day. And if you're constantly taking damage and your body is needing more time to recover, because you want to go run every day, well, eventually you're going to have to take a day off, and then you're probably going to have to take 2 days off.
Or
But
you're
if
going
we
to have
can,
to start shifting your plan. And
yeah,
now how am I fitting all the sessions I was supposed to have in if I have to move everything to the right because I didn't recover enough, or I got to shift this here or there. That's when, like you're saying, the consistency starts to get hard to do when we have to constantly move things around because we're not recovering well. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes I think people make in Hyrox in general. Um, when we look at this race, we really, really think, especially if we've done one, my heart rate is in zone 5 the whole time, the whole time. You know what I mean? Like I'm averaging 178, 180 BPM and my max is 194. Now, of course, there's fluctuations, but the
right.
point is we look at that and we're like, oh my God.
You're kind of an outlier, by the way, because you were that fit. You were so fit that you can
Yeah.
hold your zone 5 for an
Yes.
hour, whereas
Yes.
most people probably aren't going to be able to do
Okay,
something
that's
like
fair.
that.
That's
So
fair. But I think we look at this race as it's so intense, but if we don't have the aerobic foundation, we're not going to even be able to probably handle or get to the intensity level that we truly are capable of. Does that make sense? So
For sure.
people, I think, are doing too much intensity too often without enough low intensity to create the correct percentages of how much time we're spending in what area. And then we are lacking our overall endurance capacity. Our overall aerobic base starts to suffer. And it's going to be a lot harder to make it to the end of that race without that base fitness, without that strong endurance base. So it's gonna feel really bad. You know what I mean? And I get it, because when we zoom out, it's like, wow, this is a really intense thing. But you have to spend a lot of time doing the low intensity work. And when you look at the elite athletes like ourselves, like you did today, incline walking. You know what I mean? Like probably nobody would ever guess that or think that. They probably think we do tons of crazy hard stuff all the time.
Right.
And our hard stuff we're able to hit hard because we have the right amount of low intensity work to truly
Yeah.
recover. And that's the key. So the cross training can be such a good tool because you're still getting aerobic work in, but you're letting everything calm down. You're letting your
Without the
muscles
wear and
recover.
tear.
Yes, you're letting
Yeah.
your CNS come down. And especially like we were saying, if you're not someone who is running or used to running so much like we have over the years, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, those are great points. Those are great points. Um, there was something I was going to add, but I forgot what it was. Um, let's see. Let's move on to, actually, you brought up this point earlier about the ski erg and the rower, how, um, not only is it cross training and race specific, but it's also, something like the ski erg is building, it's building that upper body kind of stamina and endurance, grip strength from holding on to the
Mhm.
handles, the core from hinging over,
When you
which
go
is kind
do a hard VO2 max ski workout, my abs are on fire
yeah,
after.
they're lit.
You ever
They're lit.
feel it? You're like, oh my God, like my
Yeah.
core is smoked, you know?
Hmm. And
Um,
and even for the row, the row hits, I would say row is more like total body. You could say it
Definitely.
more, obviously it hits the legs and the back, but I would say it's also working the core too. I mean, it's
Definitely.
working head to toe. And there's something about the rower and the bike too that translates to other movements within Hyrox. I think the more you
Yeah.
row and the more you bike, the better your sleds are probably going to get, the better
Hmm.
your lunges are probably going to get, the better your wall balls. Or if they don't get better, maybe you just get less tired doing them because you've been building that muscular endurance through uh, cross training.
Yeah,
So it's not just, you know, okay, the ski erg and the row are in the race. That's great, but like what it's doing for the other stations as well, I think um, just shouldn't be uh, forgotten about or underestimated, I guess.
for sure. And I think just kind of building on that, the ergs are a great tool, in my opinion, to be doing a lot of the really high intensity, more VO2 max type stuff. Um, and again, this is honestly for everybody, not just beginners, but because you're not going to get as much of that pounding and that wear and tear on those machines as you would if you were just constantly trying to do run sessions at that 90 to 95% of your max heart rate kind of effort, where you're at that 9 to 9.5 out of 10 RPE, right?
Yeah.
You need a lot of recovery. You're gonna probably need a lot of recovery between the next hard effort session. It's a huge shock to the CNS doing those really hard running sessions. So like for me, I found I much prefer to do those on the ergs and utilize that because it's not killing my passive structures so much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's still getting the aerobics, that high intensity aerobic stimulus you want. So, um, just food for thought on that. I think VO2 max work is a little I think in running, it's dare I say, it's a little overrated. I think it's a little overrated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So just something I've learned.
No, I mean, if you raise your floor and your floor being like that zone 2 work, your ceiling's going to get higher
Yeah.
too. So raise your floor and it'll raise your ceiling like 100%.
Yep.
Um, all right, let's talk about some practical ways to kind of program in some cross training like into your weekly routine. I know for me, uh, long runs, I used to do a lot of long runs for Hyrox
Mhm.
training. I would build up to 14, 15-mile long runs for Hyrox. And, I was stubborn for the longest time. And I'm like, this is the thing, right? Like I just need to run further, run longer until it finally was just like, what am I out here running 15 miles for? I'm not training for a
Mhm.
marathon. I'm not training for a marathon or a half marathon.
Mhm.
Why am I out here running 3 times the distance of an actual Hyrox race, taking all the damage in the world and it totally screwing up my whole next week of training because I'm trying to recover from a 15-mile long run that I maybe didn't need to do. So then I'm like, okay, what if I took half of that time or maybe 2/3 of that time and ran? So let's say rather than a 15-mile run, I went out for 9. Okay. I went out for
Mhm.
9 and then finished out the duration on the machine. So like rather than running the last 6 miles, I'll just do 45 minutes on the machines. So now my long runs look a little bit different. I might go out for 8 miles, maybe run for an hour, and then come home and do machines for an hour. So I'm still getting that two
It's the
hour
time.
aerobic conditioning, but half the time, taking half the damage, still getting the heart rate response, getting in some race specificity because I'm on the skier and the rower. I'm taking less damage and I'm able to bounce back from that session much quicker, which ultimately allows me to get to my next quality session feeling a little bit better.
Yep.
So for me, that's been one way that I've, and there's others obviously, but adding it to cutting my long run shorter and then taking that extra time that I would be out running and just moving that to the machines has been a pretty big game changer for me.
I do I have done this myself. We usually do like a brick session. So it's a similar thing, or I'll do like 40-minute bike, 60-minute run, 40-minute bike, or something like that. Now that's excessive, but you get the point.
Yeah.
But I give this to a lot of my clients, very, very similar to what you're saying, where it'll be like our Saturday long aerobic effort. It'll just be like a 60-minute run. I don't give specific distances because obviously, depending on your pace, like if I'm telling someone to go run 8 miles, but they run 10-minute pace, that's 80
Right.
minutes. So that's not an effective way to program for most people. But it'd be like 60-minute run and then 30 minutes split between ski row bike, 3 3 3, 3 rounds, 30 minutes, whatever
Yeah.
their transition time is. And then it's like a 90-minute effort, low intensity. But it's building that fitness and the duration that they need. But to send most people out on a 90-minute run, like that's a lot for a lot of people. That's a lot for me.
Even
You know what I
us.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I treat my long runs a little bit different where I'm actually doing progressive long runs. Couldn't say that. Or so I'm hitting faster paces within the long run. So it's a little bit so it's like a kind of like a higher intensity session is what I kind of treat it as. But when we get into season, that will probably change because now we're doing more work, more intensity. I'm doing more specific station work, so I'm going to be more fatigued. So things will change as I'm starting to race more. But I love the idea of those types of sessions, just for getting the time, the long effort. Um, and I think it's good for the mental too. I think it's good for the training your brain, you know what I mean? Sitting on ergs for an hour isn't like the
No,
most
that
fun
requires some
thing.
mental fortitude.
Exactly.
Definitely.
So I love that because I think it gives people a lot of mental strength as well. So multiple
I
pieces.
I have a guy in my small group who's kind of dealing with an injury right now, and he's able to run just a little bit, but too much kind of flares up his injury.
Hmm.
So, what we've been doing is, we mentioned what to do on long runs, and obviously you can, you know, rather than go out for a 45-minute easy run, you could, transfer that to an elliptical or whatever. But for intensity sessions, let's just say hypothetically you had like mile repeats. Um, let's say you were going to do like 4 times a mile with 60 to 90 seconds rest, but you can't handle that amount of volume because you've either haven't built up to that yet or you're dealing with an injury like this guy. Well, okay, let's add some reps. Let's make, rather than 4, let's make it 6, and we'll run reps 1, 3, and 5, and
Hmm.
then reps 2, 4, and 6. Maybe we'll hop on the rower or the ski erg or the bike or whatever, the Jacob's
Hmm.
ladder. And we'll do it for the same duration that the
Yeah.
mile repeats would take us, but let's transfer it to the machine. So you run the first rep, and then we move to the row. Then we run, then we move to the ski. Then we run and then move to the assault bike or whatever it is. You just got in 2 more additional reps. You ran 1 less run interval too, but you actually accumulated more work, and you're going to be able to bounce back from that session much quicker. And you got some race specificity in there too.
Yeah,
So there's all these like little tricks and ways to,
definitely.
manipulate your training to get in more work without taking as much damage, and implementing some machine work on those intensity days is another great way to do that.
Definitely. And I think not to be like talking about age here, but for aging athletes, that's like a great example of a workout that you could do where you're not, again, you're accumulating the time and the correct heart rate stimulus without so much of the running volume because we know the older we're getting, the harder it is to recover from everything. And so that's another
Facts.
great tool and great option um for the 40 plus. Well, really, I'm 34 and I feel I already feel it. So but definitely for the 40 plus club because I know a lot of our friends that are elites feel the same way and we've talked about it here like once they turn 40 they couldn't recover as well as they could 3 4 years earlier. So they've made those adaptations in training where they're doing more on ergs and a little less on the track or whatever for that reason. So great tools to have in the arsenal. And I'm doing something similar with a client. Hard intensity running is what flares up her injury. So we're only doing a couple easy runs a week, and all our intensity is on machines. So it's the same thing, like whatever I would give the group, it's my women's group. So whatever I would give them for like their Monday hard running session, I just give it to her. It's almost the same time duration, but on ergs with the same rest
Hmm.
period. And that's worked really, really well. So there's always way to make adaptations. And you can do this stuff too with swimming. You know, you could do 5 minutes hard and then rest 2 or whatever. Same with the arc trainer. Um, and I think utilizing a heart rate monitor for those types of workouts, that might even become a little more important so you can make sure you're really getting the correct stimulus. And since it's in a controlled, maybe not the swimming part, but like on an arc trainer, you're inside, so you can have a controlled environment and know like, okay, my threshold heart rate is 170, 175, and you can kind of monitor it that you're getting the intensity of
Hmm.
that through the cross training machine, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Or
think a
just
lot
go
of
on the
people,
Stairmaster, put the freaking thing
yo,
up to
that's another one.
15, and your heart is gonna go
Yeah,
way
that's
up.
another one. Stairmaster is a great one.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you could even, if you wanted to make it even harder, you could throw on a weight vest and do the
Yeah,
Stairmaster.
yeah.
Um, That would be a great cross training tool. I think most people would be surprised to find out how many miles per week a lot of Hyrox Elite 15 athletes are actually running per week. I think people would be surprised to know that, hey, we may be training 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week,
Yep.
but how much of that is actually running? I think people would be a little bit surprised at
Well,
maybe
yeah,
how
because
little.
could we run like we're not gonna run 2 hours every day. You know
No,
what I
it's not.
mean?
No.
So yeah, I agree. A lot of that is spent, I think, for a lot of people, cross training. So
Because
probably more
Tim,
than
what
people
did
think.
Tim said he was around like 40 miles a week or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's a completely sustainable weekly mileage for, obviously somebody like Tim,
Yes.
but you,
Sure.
you stretch them up to 50 or 60, more isn't always better.
Right.
More isn't always better.
And I
So
think
I'm in,
as you do it, you learn your sweet spot. Like I'm really, really good around 50 to 55, especially when I'm starting to do more specific Hyrox work.
yeah,
And when I go up, again, I don't keep the volume the same. So like last week I hit 60, this week it'll be like 53, 54, right? And then I might bump it up a couple miles next week and then drop it back down a couple. So it's like, it's not 60, 60, 60 every week. That would be for me probably start to feel unsustainable. There are athletes that are doing really high mileage, and I think it's a huge gamble. I think it's
for
it's
sure.
not worth it for me. The risk reward ratio does not make that for me beneficial, to each their own. Um, but I
At
think we're
that point,
seeing,
I no longer feel like a hybrid or high rocks athlete
I
when
just
I'm
feel like
running
a
that
runner.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like everything else kind of starts to suffer because of it.
It's very hard to also get in the intention you need to, I think, in strength training to support that type of volume of running. Like, I already feel how much my strength numbers have gone down. I mean, I had a back surgery, so clearly they drastically went down from that. But even when I hit those higher mileage weeks, squatting doesn't feel good. Like it's not feeling that great. So the higher and higher you are, I think it's also hard to get enough of the other work that you need to really be really well balanced in this sport. That's
Yeah.
just my thought though.
Can you think of a time? Obviously you're coming out of one right now, but can you think of any other times in your life where you had to resort to cross training and came out the other side like a better version or just more balanced or version of
Uh,
yourself? Because
well, go ahead.
I have a few. I have a few.
So I probably one of the last times I had to cross train like a significant amount was when I was pregnant with Mila. I got like 4.5, 5 months in, and I started getting severe pain when I would try to run. And so I started to cross train a ton. I would do the Stairmaster every day. I would go on the treadmill, incline walk. And after I had her, when I did start getting back into running, like it came back really quick, even though I didn't run for like 4 months. Like not at all, not a single step of running. Um, and I felt like it kept me super just fit, and then running was just kind of easy, and I wasn't like struggling to slowly build the running back up. You know what I mean? Like, of course, like after a
Yeah,
pregnancy, you have to do that a little bit, but like I felt like I just bounced back really quickly, from being pregnant, but also just keeping a lot of in like aerobic fitness at all in any way. The running was just like kind of a breeze coming back in comparison to if I just like didn't do anything.
totally. When back before I did Hyrox, I did Spartan race,
Yeah,
and
we know.
there was uh there was one of the big races. It was part of their NBC series race. It was in New Jersey, and it was on a ski resort. And these ski resort Spartan courses are pretty gnarly and
Yeah.
technical, and they have like thousands of feet of elevation gains. So this was purely a mountain race. So obviously I needed to spend time running uphill, running downhill. And I developed through training, I developed some sort of like Achilles tendonitis and just like I just wasn't able to run. So I my cross training tool during this whole process was the arc trainer. I lived on this thing every
Hmm.
single day. I actually wasn't able to run at all because it put too much stress on my like calf and Achilles. So for the longest time it was just the arc trainer, day after day, arc trainer, arc trainer, arc trainer. And I'm building, it's easy to look back now and be like, oh, I was building, I was getting the muscle recruitment from the
Yep.
movement of the arc trainer that I would need from running up steep hills. So I'm developing the appropriate, stimulus and whatnot, but it's hard to see in the moment. And I went to that race, and fortunately, a few weeks before the race, I was able to start running again. I got a little bit healthy, and I got to that race though, and I could climb, and by climb, I say run uphill. I
Yeah.
could run uphill better than I ever could in the past. And I was running with athletes that I've never been able to match going uphill. I could match them
Hmm.
on flat terrain, but running uphill, no chance. And I was like, the arc trainer is my secret weapon. I'm never telling anyone about this machine. I'm going to keep using it. And honestly, from that point on, when when I would get ready for mountain races, I would implement the arc trainer back into the training because I knew what it did for me
Hmm.
in the past, and it allowed me to become a better runner in terms of running uphill because it kept me a little more fresh. I still got the muscle recruitment, um, and yeah, it worked for me. And so that
I
was
think
that.
I think that's a really interesting take because I think the arc trainer brings your knees up higher than if you were to just be like regular running. And like that's what you need to like be powerful and powering up a giant
True.
cliff. So I could
Yeah.
definitely see that translation really well.
And the other one was prepping for Manchester in 20, when was Manchester? 2023?
2023.
Okay, so before Manchester, I can't remember what it was. It was either a knee, I had like knee tendonitis or hamstring tendonitis, but I couldn't open up my gait super far. Like I couldn't go do like speed work. It would hurt to run faster than like 6:30 mile pace because
Hmm.
my stride would open up and it would aggravate it. So I had to find a way to get to those harder intensities without being able to open my stride up. So I went to the incline treadmill and started doing all of my work in between like 6% grade and like 10% grade because I could crank the speed up to like 7 minutes per mile at
Yeah.
a 10% grade and hit the appropriate heart rate that I want to hit without overstriding,
Hmm.
so it was more like choppy steps. So I was still able to hit the appropriate effort. And then I went on to Manchester and, you know, I had obviously like a wall ball debacle at the end, went from second place to fourth place. But until that point, I was in second place for the
Yeah.
whole race. And I trained for 2 months on the incline treadmill specifically leading into that race. And I showed up and was fine and ready to rock and roll. And it's taken these experiences for me to have confidence in the cross training and know that it does work. So, if you are someone out there who hasn't been injured and hasn't had to resort to cross training, like you probably should before something happens. Because if you're constantly pushing the limits on the running mileage, um, something's going to happen, and you're going to
Yeah.
have to find alternative ways to stay fit. And I'm here to tell you, Meg's here to tell you that like cross training is not like it's what's the word I want to looking for? Like they're not like it's not like a backup plan. Like these are tools that you can use to help propel your fitness forward.
Yep.
So
The most common injury in our sports is overuse. It's overuse injuries. I mean, I had a weird situation this year, but we're not getting acute injuries typically. It's a hip labrum tear, overuse. It's a runner's knee, overuse. It's Achilles tendonitis, overuse. You know what I mean? It's a lot of that. And if you utilize the cross training effectively and appropriately before you get to that point, can really save you a lot of pain, annoyance, interruption of training plans. Of
yeah,
course, there's a million other things that can happen because you can get hurt walking outside, but I think work smarter, not harder. I think that's the overall message of today's pod.
for sure. I've been following Jakob Ingebrigtsen's YouTube channel lately, and he's been dealing with an injury. He
Yep.
hasn't been racing the Diamond League circuit,
Yep.
um, but he does plan to
We
race
follow him
the.
very closely too.
Yeah, he he, he's got the World Championships in Tokyo, and he plans on racing the 1500 meters, but he hasn't raced at all because he's been dealing with this injury. And in the videos, he is on the elliptical. That's like his thing. He loves the
Yeah.
elliptical, and he's going hard in the paint on this thing. Like he's
Mhm.
sweating his ass off. His heart rate's getting up, and now he's starting to get a little more healthy again. He's running a little bit more in training, and like he's probably going to go on and win. I'm just going to put it out there. He's probably going to go on and
Yeah.
win the 1500 meters at the outdoor track and field championships. And the dude has been training on the elliptical.
Yeah.
So if guys like him are doing that, like there's definitely something to it for
Yeah.
sure. So
Agreed.
let's do a little like takeaways from this episode. First thing, cross training isn't extra. The skier and rower are literally race stations. You need them in your training. It also lets you add volume without wrecking your body. Each machine has direct carryover to the race in some way, shape, or form. And then ways to program it in. You could swap out easy runs for machines. You can do brick workouts like Meg mentioned. And then I think another one is just like lean on the machines when I think you're just like overly sore or just like
Yes.
dinged up from
Listen,
a session.
listen, listen to your body. Listen
Yeah,
to what it's telling you. It's okay if you feel super run down to skip the easy run and instead give yourself something that's going to be nicer on the joints, nicer on the muscles, not so hard, surface wise. It's okay to do that. I think people they don't want to. You have to understand what is appropriate to shift from your plan. You know what I mean? And I get that people want to stay super diligent to their plan, but there's a time and a place when it's okay to make those adjustments, and knowing that is very, very important.
totally. Yeah, consistency beats intensity.
Yeah.
And machines help you train more often, recover better, and show up to your next quality session just feeling a little more excited and fresh about it. So that's all I got. Anything you feel like anything
No,
else we should cover? I think we did
no,
it.
I love it.
Yeah, I like this. This was a good topic. I like this
Good,
one.
good call, RK.
Yeah. All right, guys. That'll do it for today.
Happy Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day. If you related to this episode at all, when it drops on YouTube, let us know in the comments what your favorite cross training tool is and why. I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, that'll do it. Talk to you guys next week.